Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Natalia, and today I wanted to share how I got into crochet and started making plushies. So I actually don't have a lot of my plushies with me. I've given them away to the Children's Hospital here in Seattle. So these are some of my newer ones that I haven't taken in yet, but I'll just primarily put up photos over here. So some quick background, I changed jobs in 2022. And for the first 10 plus years of my career, I was doing 80, 90-hour weeks. And when I changed jobs in 2022, that afforded me a much better work-life balance. So all of a sudden I actually had time to explore hobbies and different things that I wanted to do in my personal life. And crochet was one of the first ones that came to mind because I kept seeing Instagram ads for the Woobles kits and they looked adorable. And I had never really considered myself a crafts person, just didn't think I had those skills. But their whole marketing was about how you could start from scratch, no previous experience, and you would come out with this adorable thing. So I decided to give it a shot. So in 2023, for my birthday, my brother got me two kits, the Dino and the Narwhal. So I started with the Dino, which is Fred the Dino, and this was my very first attempt here. And I do think I'll keep these two for myself, just because they were my first ever. And it's not perfect, but it was my first attempt ever, and it was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed making it. It took me a lot longer than it certainly would take today, but it taught me a ton of skills and to problem solve and to just be okay with trying something new and not being good at it when you first get started, which is not something I enjoy. So Fred the Dino was my first attempt at making a plushie with the kit, and then my second one was Bjorn the Narwhal, which I think is adorable. I actually quite like it even more than the Dino, and I can already tell how going from the first one to the second one, my skills had already picked up. So since these first two, back in the summer of 2023, I've actually ended up making more than 30 plushies since then. And like I said, I do give them away, so I don't have a lot of them. But when I first got started, I didn't want to go ahead and spend a ton of money buying all these fancy hooks and yarn and all the different types of yarn because I didn't know if I was going to stick with this hobby. I didn't know what type of stuff to even buy. So I actually mentioned to my mom, because my brother got this for me, mentioned to her that I wanted to try different yarn, and she let me know that she still had some balls of yarn from her knitting days. So I picked those up after visiting her and tried to make, using the same pattern as the Dino, tried to make it with her yarn. That actually taught me that the difference between yarn weights and yarn types, and that it does make a difference. So I ended up researching what are the different types of yarn, why does weight matter, how to adjust a hook size, etc. And so I ended up making a very small Dino, but it did tell me that I wanted to keep exploring. So I decided to, because I had a bunch of yarn from her, I decided to try a brand new pattern. I had tried the Woobles. Let's see if I can actually read something new. At the time that I was looking at this, the Mabel chicken pattern was super popular all over Instagram and YouTube and everywhere else. So that was the first pattern I bought from Etsy. And again, it really taught me the importance of that yarn type and yarn weight. Despite this first attempt here being ridiculous looking, it did make me laugh, and it actually made me want to invest in additional yarn and additional hooks. So that was the first time I actually bought hooks. I went to Michael's and bought Prim hooks, and what actually turned out to be my favorite yarn to this day, which is the Bernat blanket yarn, which is the super bulky weight. So now that I had the appropriate yarn, I made my first real Mabel chicken, which turned out pretty close to the pattern actually. I really enjoyed the process. I enjoyed making really soft, big plushies, and I ended up making a chicken army essentially. It was shortly before the holidays, October, November, give or take, and so I made a bunch of them and they turned into gifts for family members. And from there, I just kept going. I looked for patterns that were free online, tutorials on YouTube. I bought some additional patterns from small creators that I found on YouTube primarily, or from Etsy. And I just kept learning. I learned how to read written patterns. I learned how to read charts. and I just kept making them. So the more plushies that I made, the better I got at actually visualizing what it would look like. So one of my first attempts at writing my own pattern actually came when I tried to follow a pattern for a snowman. And as I worked the legs and the bottom of the body, I could tell that it wasn't really shaping up to be what the photos were showing. So this snowman, I actually ended up recreating myself. I left the legs as they were and just undid most of the body, and then worked it up as I thought a snowman should look like. And as I did each row, I ended up writing it down and creating my first pattern, which was not something that, 10, 15 plushies into this experience, I thought I would be able to do, but I actually think it did turn out pretty okay. So to date, some of my favorite plushies have been Mac the Moose. This was one of the first ones I made with big yarn and really went all in and bought the right hooks, the right size eyes, everything that I needed to make it. The Lop-Eared Bunny, which, yes, I did run out of yarn because I did not know how to look at how much yarn a pattern would need versus what I was buying. So that taught me how to calculate that, which has definitely helped me in future projects. I made the various loveys from Mama Made Minis. So this is one of them. I didn't put eyes on it because I am going to take it to the hospital, so I'll probably just embroider like sleeping eyes. These are really fun to make. I've made multiple of these already. So this is one of the, I think this is the dinosaur one, and then the cow here, also a lovey. This was a challenge to make with all of the color changes. Trying new stitches. So this is the regular yarn over that the Woobles teach. And I kept reading online about yarn under, yarn over, so made this one. And you can see that they are different sizes, but the spiral is a lot less apparent on the yarn under versus and yarn over. So I've actually switched to making all of my plushies with yarn under and yarn over now. Another pattern that I ended up writing myself was this giraffe here. I ended up making the neck a bit too long, so it kind of falls over. But again, it's just experience and trying something new, and I'll probably make it again and just make the neck shorter, make the ears a bit different. The eyes ended up looking a bit sad, but it's just exploring. The same creator that made, I think, Mac the Moose also has Hannah the Cow, which I made with a different size yarn. This is a size 5 yarn, I think called Retro Velvet, and it is a very frustrating yarn to work with because it just falls apart, but it makes adorable plushies, so I've kept just persisting through it. So this is an adorable one. I've made 2 different of these teddy bears, which I actually think was a free pattern from Amigurumi today, if I'm not mistaken. So I made it the first time with overalls, and then in this gorgeous yarn that I have made various other projects in. And this was my most recent one, this little alligator, which turned out looking a little angry, but I actually think a little kid would enjoy that. So I'll go ahead and take it to the hospital next time I have more. So if there are any patterns that you are interested in, any of the photos that I popped up, I do have a website that I've had for years just for myself, and now I'm growing it out now that I started a YouTube channel. But I have been putting all of these on my website. So it's got not only the finished product photo, but also the hook that I used, the yarn and the yarn colors that I used, some information about how it worked out for me, and etc. And I've been doing that just to keep track for myself, but I actually think it would be helpful if you are interested in making one of these for yourself. So I will leave a link to my website in the description box below, and I will continue sharing more things like more of the plushies that I make. I want to try making a sweater. I have started making a blanket, but it is summer right now, so that blanket is now a work in progress that is shut in the closet because it's getting way too hot to work on it, but I'll definitely pick it up in the fall again. And yeah, I'll just keep trying new patterns and exploring and see what happens. Maybe take up knitting, try out sewing, and just exploring additional hobbies. So thank you for joining me today to learn more about my crochet journey, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.